we just reached about 100 people. So I really appreciate such an enthusiastic turnout today. And I'm gonna just do a really brief introduction and then hand over. We so appreciate our dear friends Roshi Eve Marko, who's been part of Zen Peacemakers since the beginning, and is active on a daily basis. Eve and I see each other several times a week, and it's a delight. And our good friend Jeff Bridges, who have both agreed to come together and talk about whatever they want to talk about, but ostensibly talk about aging today. I'm going to put in a plug for Jeff's show. Jeff's new show is on FX, broadcast through Hulu, The Old Man. Some of the best drama I've seen on television for a very long time. I've seen the whole series twice, and I highly recommend it. Wonderfully written, and I won't spoil, but Jeff may or may not be the old man. He might be one of the old men. But that's my English degree talking probably. So let's turn this over, Eve and Jeff, and I'm going to step aside and let you do as you will.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm Eve Marko. I've had the gleeful pleasure of knowing the guy to my left, I guess for 22 years, but getting closer to him as we talked and we worked together on the book, The Dude and Zen Master. And I think that started a stronger friendship that has survived even the death of the Zen Master. Anyway, I got the idea of doing this when I saw The Old Man. And the very first episode, I'm watching this guy, Dan Chase, played by Jeff Bridges, and he's getting out of bed, and he's tottering over to the bathroom, and he's coming back to bed, going back to the bathroom. And I'm looking at him, and I'm saying, that's funny, because I saw Jeff 1 month ago in New York in person, and he looked great. He didn't look anything as old as this old man in that scene. So, it's like you had more wrinkles, you were slow, you were just like tottering around. So Jeff, I wanted to ask you, like, usually I think of Hollywood wanting to make you look younger, but it's like as if this time they wanted to make you look older. And so was that purposely done? What was the intention of that, if there was one?
Yeah, well, the show, it's called The Old Man, right? And so that was my part. As Jeff was saying, I don't want to be a spoiler alert here, but I'm an old man. There are several old men in the show. Joel Grey being the oldest, who is really wonderful, but the intention was to play the part that was written on the script. That's where I take my my first cue on how I'm going to pull off this any role is what's said in the script. So that that gives me my clue. And I'm like all of us, I'm many faceted. I'm an old crepid guy like this, and I'm a young teenager. Got some preteen in me, and as an actor you use those different elements.
Yeah, and especially those fight scenes, you really
Oh
look
my
so
God.
flattered. Oh my God.
It's so fun because I love doing all those stunts in movies, but I think this one, The Old Man, I think I do more fighting and more stuff like that than all my movies put together. It felt that way anyway. Gosh.
And let me ask you, Jeff, I know you've made like way over 100 movies because you started very young.
I don't think that many, actually, not over 100.
I think I saw
You think?
well,
Maybe, I
even a
don't know.
while ago, I saw like over 90, and
Oh
that was
gosh,
a
yeah,
while
I don't
ago.
know. There, it's exaggerated as a lot of things are, I think. I'd say around 75, maybe 70.
Huh.
But
So
that's, I don't know.
yeah. So what's it like, used to be this young leading man and, really handsome and, in love and adventure and all that. And now you're playing the older leading man.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not playing even the leading man. You play some wonderful smaller roles. That's been a big change, for someone like you. And you're going on. I know that you're going on 73 because there's only one day dividing our birthdays.
That's right. That's right.
So what's it like now to make such a big transition in
It's
your
no I don't sense it a transition at all. It's the same old thing, it's just another part. And you start with the stuff on the page, the words, and then different aspects of myself that I can use. Some aspects I'll kick to the curb that don't really apply. And then if you're lucky, you've got a real guy, a guy who is really a CIA agent and knows what he's talking about. And we had Christopher Hutchinson, who was a former CIA operative. And so I got to just be with him, and he turned me on to so many things that helped me realize the character. Such as, I'll give an example. One of the things I had, heard about this in school and stuff, but Stoicism, that, I would ask him, what's your philosophy of life, and so forth. And he turned me on to Stoicism in a deeper way than I had experienced before. And that really informed my character. I read a book kind of recently called "The Obstacle Is the Way." Now that's kind of Buddhistic, isn't it? I mean, that's getting into, well, in that Tibetan, Lojong kind of approach, of leaning into what is appearing as the obstacle. And many military guys have that philosophy. And I noticed as I started to study it that I have it too. And it came in very handy when I was sick. I went through a couple of years of being very ill. And that was kind of my approach during those times, was to each little challenge, that's the path, that's the thing. What do I have to learn here? What is life giving me at this moment?
Mm,
I
yeah.
often, you ever get a birthday present or something, and you told your partner or your parents, you say, I want this is what I really would like, but no pressure, but this. And then the event comes along and you get a present, and it's not the present that you asked for. It's a nice present, and you pretend, you say, oh, how wonderful, how thoughtful, and so forth. But in your mind, you're thinking, gee, that's not really what I wanted, And I noticed when I was sick that same kind of thought came to me, that life is constantly giving, this, and often you say, but that's not what I wanted, and an approach that I not only enjoyed but seemed to work for me was, to look at this gift that's being given. I mean, as something truly to receive it, like who wants give me some cancer, and you got any COVID? I'd love a COVID. If you can find some COVID for me, that would be just terrific. Who wants those things? But that's what's happening. And receiving those apparently abhorrent gifts. There's some gold in there, man. Some really wonderful stuff. And like most things we discover, it's about love. You feel. This is an experience that I had during those times, was how much love I had to give and wanted to express, and how much love was coming at me. Huge waves. And making that little adjustment about opening up to that, rather than bitching about not being able to turn over. I mean, yeah, I had the oxygen was the big thing. So to make this move would take me 15 minutes. I'd have to call the nurse. She would get my oxygen up. I'd make the move. I'd have to stay in that position for a while with the oxygen up, full blast. And so each of those little things, I could feel myself being tempted to bitch, but that was not serving me. It was to look at the little details. What is here that I could absorb that would bring me joy and love and express love and this kind of thing. I'm rambling here, Eve. You were going to get me on track.
No, yeah, but I don't experience you as rambling.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would tell you, Jeff, you're rambling.
Yeah.
But since you brought up the whole oxygen issue, which is so basic, my God, we just take for granted our breathing. Oh,
yeah.
I'm inhaling, but sometimes it doesn't work. And you had the COVID hit you in a really bad place, and it affected your oxygenation and everything. And I'm thinking about this, not being able to breathe adequately kind of makes me very vulnerable. I have asthma. And when I get one of those things, I feel so vulnerable. So I guess what it brings up for me is not just how did you feel at that time, but like as you and I and others get older, do you feel more vulnerable generally?
Yeah, it seems to bring up vulnerability, but also invulnerability. Having lived through different things, you said, "Oh, I can do this. I've done it." That my illness brought me close to facing my mortality. Get up, right next to it, say, "Oh, people died. This might be me dying now." Okay. And to really, taste that and get into that. And then, woo, I passed through that. That was what happened there. And now I'm alive. But I was very close, and I was in kind of surrender mode. I remember my doctors would come up to me and say, "Jeff, you're not fighting. You've got to fight." I had no idea what they were talking about. I didn't know, who am I supposed to fight? What does that look like? I had no idea. I was in total surrender mode. And that's just seemed where I went. It's interesting. Everybody, not only the people who were experiencing that closeness to their mortality, but also the people who are close to the people who are experiencing their mortality. Every one of us experiences and expresses it so differently. And it was one of the big enjoyments that I got. Again, it has to do with love, as most stuff does, was my family. My wife, Sue, and Jesse were living together in our little house there in Santa Barbara and supporting me in the most beautiful way. But their styles of support were so different, and they would get into these fights with each other about, "No, you're not, you're not being emotional enough. Don't you realize what's happening?" And the other person would say, I just don't do that. I got to take a break, And out of that, that confrontation and that disagreement, what are you going to do? Well, one thing to do is to enlarge your loving capacity and hold all that disagreement and that tension and say, we're all loving, we're all frightened, we're all vulnerable. Here we are together. What are we going to do? Well, let's just love each other and accept our differences and realize how potent what's going on is. This is some strong shit, and look what it's doing. Look at what it's causing. Look what behavior it's causing in me, and in you. And wow, this is, we can cherish this moment. And so that was something that came out of that. I kind of got off track with your question.
No, but let me ask you this. When I say vulnerability,
Oh
obviously,
yeah,
when you were very sick, there was no question how vulnerable you were. But I'm wondering, even all those of us who are at this point not sick, you don't have, hopefully your cancer is gone, you don't have COVID.
oh, it's in remission. I don't know if it's gone.
Yeah, okay, it's in remission, and
Yeah.
that's great. That's great news. At the same time, you've often referred to as your morning dreads.
Oh,
Remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
So like you get up in the morning or you wake up, we open our eyes, and there we are, close to 73, and we're not who we were. And does that make you feel vulnerable? And how
Yeah,
does this
that, you know
feel?
what, that really, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's like a feeling of, oh, you wake up here, oh shit, gotta live another day. There's gonna be all those problems that I know that I've got to deal with that I don't want to deal with, and all the new problems. And oh God, and I've got to get up and do my fucking morning exercises, which is torture. I mean, it's just literally torture. Well, and now I gotta pee, and I don't want to pee. I want to go back to sleep and have a dream, but no, I gotta get up and pee and start my life and oh shit. That is kind of a version of my morning dread that I would have. And I remember in New York, we were talking about it. And I said, I was telling you this thing, and you said, oh yeah, I got that too. And I said, oh yeah, what do you do about it? You said, I get up. I said, oh, right, so simple. So simple, you get up, you change the situation,
Yeah.
and so that was really an interesting enlightenment there. And then I had an experience where I went up to Montana fairly recently, and that's a place where I just love it. We've had a ranch up there for, gosh, 40 some odd years, and it's just gorgeous, but it's a mile high. So while my breathing down here is sea level in Santa Barbara is fine, just going up a mile, and I've got to have that damn tube up my nose and an Inogen battery thing, and it was just a drag. So when I came back, I said, Jeff, you really ought to get into studying about your lungs, And I remember this fella, Eric Goodman, who I think I turned you on to, Eve.
It's
And
foundation training.
yeah,
It's
foundation
terrific.
training. And
Sounds great.
yeah, we can get into that a little bit later. I've sent Jim, our technical advisor here, who can put up some of these things that we're talking about as far as websites and so forth. But Eric turned me on to this guy, Wim Hof, who's also known as the Iceman. He's very famous for climbing Everest in shorts and barefoot, and he holds all kinds of records for being in the cold. But the other thing he's really into is breathing. And I remembered this, and I said, I'm going to check this out because I want to get my lungs better to go up to Montana, So this breathing, and I'll just explain it very quickly. As I was saying, Jim is going to set these different websites that you can check out, but it's basically 3 rounds of 30 breaths, like belly, chest, head, about that speed. But I start very slow and kind of build. You do 30 breaths, and then you do a breath retention on the exhale. You don't force exhale, but you just relax and you retain your breath. And it's interesting what the mind goes through, at least what mine goes through. It says, breathe, it's time to breathe. And you say, oh, well, thank you. But no, I think I'm just going to feel my body sensations for a while. And you do that, and it's a wonderful feeling not to panic and do what you intentionally, what your first intention is, just to acknowledge that and then get into the body. And he holds his breath like that for a couple of minutes. I'm good for about 30 or 40 seconds. And then you take a deep breath and you hold that for 15 seconds. And then, because I'm lung impaired, I do something called pursed lips breathing, which is, take 2 deep breaths and then, like you're blowing out of a straw. I learned that technique in the hospital. That's how I, could walk. I mean, I went from being able to stand for 45 seconds to, slowly walking 10 yards, 20, and these, pursed lips breathing would always bring my oxygen level up. By the way, let me say, I often, when I do this, I don't have one here, but when I do this exercise, I'll wear an oximeter. It's one of these ring ones that actually vibrate when your body becomes in need of oxygen. And so I'll do my anyway, I do this, that's one round, and you do it 3 times. And the guy that you can go on the website there, he explains it much better. And anyway, cut to the chase here, and I could talk a long time about this, because this is something I'm really into. It has to do with music. I also I've been doing it recently to John Luther Adams. Do you know him?
No.
Wow, he's got a thing called Becoming Ocean that is really incredible. And Wim Hof himself has all kinds of really great music that you can get on iTunes that goes along with the thing. And myself, I'll try to bring this to a close, Eve. But I said, oh, I don't want to count 30 breaths. I think I'm just going to get on GarageBand, and I'm going to make a tune with different signals of sounds and stuff. So I got into that, and it had a groove to it. And then I said, no, I don't want a groove. I want to set my own groove. So that's also available, Jim. I put that up I sent that to you. Well, that little thing that I did. But anyway, music is wonderful. Eno's Thursday Afternoon is something I've used. But anyway, as far as Morning Dread and this breathing, so my routine is I got to go to the bathroom. I go, I pee, I brush my teeth, throw cold water on my face. I get back into bed and do this breathing. Get up and sit after that. And the breathing, I find, enhances the sitting in a wonderful way. I'm much more in touch with my body, and more relaxed, and letting the flow go through me, in a better way. Then I get up and I do my torturous exercises, the foundation training, which is also I gave to Jim to do. But what I like about it is torture, but it's for a short period of time, like that standing decompression breath. And it's weird. The pain is such an interesting one, very unusual. It's a different one. And then I do the 8-point plank. Now, have you done the 8-point plank, Eve?
No, I haven't done it yet.
That is
that's a weird one. To it.
But let me just say that what Eric turned me on to also is about stress. You got to get a stress-free life, life's stressful, man. It's filled with stress. So it's stressing yourself and developing ways to deal with the stress. It's again, it's that the obstacle is the way to put yourself in the position. And the questions are so interesting. Like in the 8-point plank, what am I doing? I'm in such terrible pain. You're just doing it, man. That's all. Oh, and your mind goes to some incredible places with it. But having done the breath, having done the meditation, it makes that little adjustment in the mind in the exercises, I find, and it makes them more enjoyable. And anyway, that's kind of where I am with the exercise and the breathing.
Jeff, let me ask you this. How do you feel towards your body now as it gets older? You know, I was remembering reading somewhere when you did True Grit that you did yourself the horseback riding scenes. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, I love the horseback ride. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing that
But
since I was a kid. Yeah.
but still, I mean, there are things you can't do now if your body resists or whatever, and you don't have the stamina. So in terms of, here's your body that has served you all these years, and now it's doing different things. How do you feel
Yeah.
towards your body?
Yeah. Wow. I'm trying to think of something specific to latch on to. As you ask that question, it's a general thing of falling deeper in love with my body. A deep, I think in life, I think what we're looking for, what I'm looking for is intimacy, really getting to know what's going on here is to the highest degree. As we always talk, it's not knowing. That's there you finally get into that, but to get right up to the limits of it and really, get into it, as Bernie would say, grok it, or dig it, just dig your body, dig that you can't stand for more than 45 seconds, man. Isn't that wild? Check that out. Oh, I've got to get up and my back hurts. And then my back will say, okay, pay attention. Your back is hurt. What have you learned? What skills have you learned on how to get out of a car, for instance, or get in a car, turn all the way. Don't do the thing you did when you were a kid where you just no, you gotta prepare. When you get out of the chair, one of the things that the foundation training is so wild that Eric turned me on to, when you just sit up out of a chair, how do you do it? He has this one little thing. You reach, you don't use your back and your legs to push you out of the chair. You reach up to a spot until you get up, So all these little ailments and these little things, they're opportunities to learn how to do it, learn how to do it,
Yeah. Let me ask you, Jeff, about Dan Chase again. So Dan Chase was a younger man, and we see him in the series, and he's played very well by another actor whose name I don't remember now.
Oh no,
Not John
Heck, Bill Heck, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, and then you play the older Dan Chase. So it's like, and over you see in the series that Dan Chase remembers the past, but he knows he isn't the man he used to be, So I guess what that makes me wonder is, like, we're no longer who we were. So when you think about it, when you get to this age, it's like, what have we left behind, or what is no longer important to us? That's what I'm trying to get to. What is now more important to us, and what is less important to us?
Mm. Well, different words popping up. Authenticity comes to mind, Be, what do you know, again, who are you? Getting into that. And, again, it's that not knowing place, but keep asking, that, what am I? Who is this? What wants to be expressed? You only have so much time. Go for it, man. You want to express something? Now's the time. As far as what was the other, that was what you wanted, but what you're not as interested in, what was
Right.
it again?
That too is part of the question.
Yeah,
What are you,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what don't you care about anymore that
Yeah,
you
what
used to
don't
care
you care
a
about?
lot about?
Yeah, I notice I feel like, I mean, what I want to say is I care about everything as much as I always have, and different things have different charges on them. You know, different words are coming to mind. Hope, you know, that's kind of a dangerous thing, to have this idea of this is how I hope it turns out, but I'm kind of hopelessly hopeful. I have that. I'm drawn towards a kind of future, I suppose. And it's interesting to taste that. One of the things that I've been into recently, I like to play music, I like to photograph, all these things. But I noticed since my illness, I'm not taking as many pictures or writing as many songs. What I'm doing is I'm editing all that I've accumulated over the years and putting them together in different arrangements and how they're juxtaposed to each other and so forth.
So do you feel like maybe that's like a little summing up of
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
creative endeavors?
It's a different way of approaching my creativity, and that's kind of fascinating. I've got off track here a little bit. I mean, it has to do with the subject we're talking about, but get me back on track about things you don't. Oh yeah, you don't want to. You're not as interested in. Yeah, so that's a good example. That's an example. It's not something that's particularly a good thing, but I'm just noticing I'm not as interested in taking pictures as I was. I'm not as interested in writing a song. What are you interested? Well, I'm interested in using all those things in a different way, almost like a collage, putting it together in different shapes. And my music project has to do with emergent behavior. And that's a term that I got familiar with in this movie about our environment called Living in the Future's Past. And Jim, that's something to put on there somewhere, Living in the Future's Past.
That's a film that you produced,
Yeah,
right?
that I produced, and Susan Kuchera directed it and shot it so beautifully. I'm really proud of the film. It's an interesting exploration into not pointing fingers about who are the bad guys in our environment, but why are we behaving the way we are behaving with this situation? And I think that it was kind of fascinating. But anyway, I learned about emergent behavior, which can be seen in the murmuration of birds or the schools of fish, I mean, it happens all over nature. It's a constant emergence of there's a thing going on that the little tiny things that make up the big thing have no idea what they're doing. If you took a bird and you dissected it, and if you would not find the shape that it makes with all the birds are put together. And was fascinating to me. It's like there's no leader. It's just that this shape wants to happen, and all the little parts have something to do with it, but it's not their physical their physical being, it's their relationships with each other. And that fascinates me, and I tend to notice that going on all over the place. My daughter Isabel turned me on to a wonderful term. It was new to me: liberating structures. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but they almost seem like paradoxical. Liberating, you think everything, I guess, in structure is very tight. But what liberating structures, what I'm understanding, I'm just getting into it fairly recently, is that these are structures that cause liberation, or that encourage liberation. And it's an intentionality that's really, I love it. And it's how the individual in the emergent behavior is kind of conscious of it. And there are, ways that you can work on that can get your intentional love. I guess that's where it's going, to.
Bernie used to say that we need new wineskins. That was his
Get
way
into
of
that.
saying we need new structures.
Yes, right.
He used the word wineskins. We just need new wineskins to change new systems. In other words, structures, nothing bad about structures, but we need new ones and more creative ones and more dynamic ones.
I think the thing, I sent you a link to these two guys who I think developed it maybe. And they say, look at a forest. Look how well look how nature does it. Rather than having a boss whose ego and money and whatever has risen them to the top and he's going to tell everybody what to do. There's a way to connect with all of the parts and let this being that wants to be born come through us, that we don't know. I don't know. You don't know what the shape is going to finally be. But to acknowledge that there's this thing going on, there's this emergence going on that we're all a part of. I get into that trim tab thing, with Bucky Fuller, so I tell the story quickly.
I think it's great. Tell the story, Jeff.
Yeah, it's Bucky Fuller, the guy who came up with the geodesic dome, a wonderful philosopher.
Buckminster Fuller, right?
Buckminster Fuller,
yeah.
And he made an observation with the big ocean-going tankers. He said, "Wow, what a challenge the engineers must have had to create this giant rudder that turns the ship. To turn that rudder takes too much energy. How did they figure that out?" And then what was realized was this little rudder on the big rudder called a trim tab. And the engineers said, this is a much more efficient way of getting the boat to go where we want it to go. The little rudder will turn the big rudder, and the big rudder will turn the ship. And Bucky made the observation that this little rudder, this little trim tab, we are all trim tabs. This is a great example of how the individual is connected with society and our culture, and that all of us are so connected. I mean, God, if the COVID didn't teach us anything, it taught us that we're in this thing together, man, and your little movement makes a difference. We don't know what difference it'll be, but this thing, your creativity, your hope, I guess, maybe, I don't know, you say, this is the future that I would like to intend, and you say, oh yeah, well, I make a difference. Who am I in cahoots with? The Sangha is the perfect. Who am I in cahoots with that can say, oh yeah, let's go there, and you do it. Yeah,
So Jeff, would you say that you're as hopeful now as you were when you were younger?
I didn't spend too much time on hope when I was younger. I'm thinking, I was just jamming, just having a good time. Yeah, hope is a funny thing. What do you think? Talk about hope for a little bit, Eve. What do you think about that?
I think hope is good, and I always remember Bernie saying, hope is good, expectations not too good,
There you
but hope
go.
is
There
good.
you go. Yeah. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
that, grabbing onto the result too much. But the hope, it's a fascinating energy, isn't it? That's where I think the hope is love, isn't it? It feels like a very similar thing.
But I'm very moved by what you say, that even as our bodies age and we're not as strong and not as energetic as we used to be, there's a sense that something is going on that's beyond me,
Oh,
but I matter in that whole movement. I matter
yeah.
regardless of what the day is like or what's going on with my body or
Yes.
my
And
mind.
and and
I
as you,
matter.
yes. And the funny thing, it's a very youthful feeling. It's very fresh. I remember Bernie, toward his ending days, he would say, "Oh, I had this epiphany. I got to tell you, man, I can't wait to see you." And I never heard his latest thing, man. But
Yeah.
he was, as we get older, we still have those things. What? Oh, what if I do this? Oh, I'm going to make this little adjustment and do this. And that makes a huge difference. You say, wow, that made a huge difference, that little thing. What other little thing? Oh my God, I'm a completely new, what's going to happen? Who am I? What am I, let me explore this guy,
Yeah. Tell me, Jeff, one more question, and then I want to open it up for people to ask questions, okay? But let me ask you one. Is that okay, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One last question. Do you feel as driven as you used? Well, I don't know how driven you
No,
used
I never was driven. Always been a very resistant guy. You know me. Yeah.
I remember once talking to you and you said, Eve, I'm so lazy. I'm really very, very lazy.
But I do
But
all
then as
kind.
I got to know you better, I said, man, there's no way this
Yeah,
guy could
yeah,
be that lazy.
yeah. But I'm very anxious and very resistant, and that's kind of like my limit. That's where that's a very an exciting place to be. But man, I resist because you do this, then you can't do that, and I have trouble choices, or whether it's just what to order at a restaurant, or what I want to do this moment. I resist all of the natural flow. Uh,
Hmm.
but that resistance, that's where you work. That's where you jam. When that resistance comes up, you say, "Oh, okay. Now, what am I going to do here?" Like with the old man, for instance, I had a lot of resistance to doing a TV show. My dad, Lloyd Bridges, he had Sea Hunt and many, many TV shows. I saw how hard he worked and how he felt kind of compromised, by the speed that it had to be done and so forth. And so I kind of resisted it. And then all these great shows started to come out on TV, and the quality was so good. I said, well, I ought to explore that,
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I can go on and on. I have
Yeah.
a funny, as I speak here, I have a interesting, to me anyway, relationship with my work, where I love it and hate it. I mean, it's the whole kit and caboodle, I mean, like you say, I'm lazy, so, oh, do I have to do a TV show, even work harder? Oh, no, I don't want to do, so it's that, at that edge, that I'm on often, and to explore that, we talked about that, it's kind of the Zen story of all these, 100 hikers hiking up the mountain, and there's, 10 guys that go like 10 feet and say, that's it, I'm over, I hit my limit. Next guys go, 50, and they start to fall away. Each one reaches his limit, and there's a guy on the top and they go, they get that one, And the idea is that it's not so much how far up the mountain you get, but it's jamming with your limit, get right into that limit and explore it, because we all have limits, but this is my belief. I don't think we really know what our what our limit is. We all have them, but it's interesting to get right up to your limit and just hang there for a while. And then, I guess it's that kind of yoga pose feeling about, do I want to go past what I think I am? What'll happen? Yeah, why not? I mean, life's short. I'm going to go, I'm going to experiment with myself and go do something that I would like to do, but I don't want to do. And I'm just going to put myself there. And everything, most often, if I put myself into that spot of a little overextension, I get a lot of pleasure and expanse. My life all of a sudden becomes bigger and more and fresher.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, oh, I didn't know I could do that or that. Well, look what happened. I thought I didn't want to do that, and I did it, and now I'm glad I did it. But I didn't want to. But it makes it just adds freshness to life, I find. But again, I'm resistant. I don't like to do that, but I do. It's a combo.
So thanks a lot. I enjoy the hang. I really do.
So we got any questions?
Yeah. So Jeff O'Keefe, do you think so now it's open to anybody who'd like to ask questions, certainly of Jeff, Bridges, myself, and again, about what's the deal here when we get older. So, and I'm going to ask Jeff O'Keefe to manage that. Is that okay, Jeff?
That's very okay. And friends, we have, I can't see everybody. We have, I don't know, five screens of people. So many of you are familiar with how to do this. If you go down into reactions on Zoom, you have the opportunity to raise your electronic hand. And if you do that, then you'll go up to my upper left-hand corner and I'll be able to spot you. If you wave your hand like this, I'm not going to see you. So raise your electronic hand. And John Goodwin, you did both.
Oh.
Why don't you go ahead and, John, unmute yourself and go ahead. John, you're still muted there.
Is that John Goodwin?
I'll just tell you, John Goodwin's, perhaps my oldest friend. We go back to the 4th grade. We jam creatively on so many levels, paintings, music. But gee, hey man, what's happening? Where are you? I don't see your face or hear your voice.
I'm right here.
There you are.
Oh, there he is. Excellent, excellent.
Listen, Eve and Jeff, it's so good to see you guys. I
remember
nice to see you,
John, really.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to
say that John is a wonderful songwriter.
Oh man,
Jeff has performed many.
Yeah, we're gonna. Jim.
Jim,
remind me if I don't. I'm gonna put a big link to Johnny's stuff on that. Yeah,
wonderful. I really wanted to say that I've known Jeff for probably 67 years. And one thing that I've observed about him relative to like getting older, because we've seen a lot of decades go by, is that when we first met, we found this creative, we became friends because we were both very imaginative and creative and adventurous and stuff like that. And we enjoyed each other tremendously. And we continued doing that in the same spirit, since probably 1957. But there's one thing I observed about Jeff, and that is that he's taken at every period in his life, he's taken great stuff and made it even greater. And it's kind of like a staircase, and somehow he always goes beyond where he was in the most wonderful way. It's just been a tremendous blessing in my life to see him like continually grow, continually improve, even though there's a point at which one would say he couldn't improve because he'd done it so well. But I just want to tell everybody that he has found a way of maximizing his human potential and in just a great exemplary way. And, you know, one of my favorite people in the world. And that's really what I wanted to add.
Love you, G, man.
Love you, Jeffy.
Great to have you on this hang.
Thank you. So good to see Eve too, because we had some good times.
Oh,
with
we
her.
did, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see you again, John. You're still in Memphis?
No, Nashville.
Oh, Nashville. I'm sorry. You're in
Yeah.
Nashville. Yeah,
I hope we can all get together one day, but I'll let somebody else speak at this point. But I'll see you guys later, I hope.
thank you.
Toodles, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, John. And just a reminder to everybody, please do look at your chat. Jeff has kindly shared with us an encyclopedic list of links, as he does. And we will try to follow up and send those to everybody after the fact as well. But you can save some of those too if you'd like to link in now. If you have a question or a comment, please go ahead and raise your electronic hand. There's 111 of us here. Somebody must have, and there were a few comments or questions in the chat. I can't necessarily get to all of those, so if you want to go ahead and get in line and ask your question that way. Greg, please go ahead and unmute.
Hi, everybody. This is my first time coming to anything on the Zen group. I just want to say hi and thank you for having me.
Hey,
Yeah, hey.
Greg.
Hi,
Hey.
man. I just want to thank you so much, Jeff, for being you. I've enjoyed listening to you and I've enjoyed your book with Bernie.
Oh,
And
good.
It's really
you.
awesome. It's really
Thank
awesome.
you.
It's really just great to every now and then to just, you know, sort of, I guess, zen down and kind of just, I don't know. It's very grounding. I found you a very grounding individual, and I thank you so much for doing what you do. And I want you to keep going, man. Keep doing what you do.
Thanks, thank you, man. Thanks for letting me know. Appreciate that.
All right on, man.
Thanks, Greg. And maybe I can pick up a question or two out of the chat. Oh, John Keeley, you've got your hand up. Go ahead, and if we need to fill in, I'll go to the chat.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, Jeff and Eve and everybody who made this happen. Jeff, you made a reference to intimacy, and I'm curious to know how intimacy has evolved in your life in terms of interpersonal relationships, but not just with that, but with your environment, with your life, with your very being. Loving yourself and just realizing how much of a participant you are in what's going on in the universe.
Yeah, you know what comes to mind when you ask that? It's a J. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking for your name and I don't know how to.
It's
John.
John. Yeah. You know, when I was sick, people will say, you know, what did you learn when you were sick? Did you learn anything new? And what comes to mind is not really. It just, what I already knew became more intense. You know, so like intimacy was always something that I have dug, you know, as growing up, you know, like with Johnny just spoke, you know, getting into it, you know, what can we do together that's, you know, really, you know, let's get into it. Let's, you know, this breath work that I'm talking about, that's breathing. There's probably nothing more intimate than breathing, man. We breathe all the time, but we take it for granted. We say, yeah. Getting intimate with your breath, really feeling that what's happening like that. That's such a precious thing, and it's such an ordinary thing. Relationships. Oh yeah, that's my girlfriend. Yeah, that's my friend. No, man, that's another human being who's just as immense as you are, and you have an opportunity to jam, to dance. What can we do? What can we bring out? What can we tickle out of each other by being intimate with each other? And somehow that intimacy it has to do with this emergence that's going on. You know, when we really are intimate, and intimacy brings compassion and empathy and all those things, that kind of leads us where I think that's where I want to go, sort of, you know. And it's frightening and I resist it, but it is a calling for intimacy.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank
can
you.
I just
Thanks for your
add
question,
something?
John.
Wait, can I just add
Please.
something to that, John?
It's 3
John
o'clock.
and Jeff. And by the way, Jeff, John Keeley is, you know, he's a doctor,
Uh-huh.
and he has kind of been Bernie's doctor for many, many years.
Uh-huh.
So I just want to let you know. But I also
Great.
think
Thank
the
you for
deep
that.
intimacy when we're there gives you a sense of how you are so much bigger. And only it's not you anymore, but whatever you
Yeah.
are is so immense. But we don't get to that sense without intimacy. That's my experience.
Yeah, and it's weird to intend intimacy, you know, like with that breathing thing. To intend to do that, you know, or with the friendship. I'm gonna, you know, there's a little rub there. Oh yeah, okay. That's a calling to be intimate about that rub. What's needed? What wants to go down here with that little tension side? There's opportunity there.
Thanks, everybody. John, thanks for your question. Jake Carlson, you've got your hand up, and if you're inclined and comfortable doing so, go ahead and turn your camera on too, so we can see you, and unmute yourself.
Can you see me?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm new to this.
It's okay. Go ahead and ask your question, and
Oh, sure.
we'll imagine what you look like.
Sure. I
There you are. We got you now.
Oh, great. I just wanted to say hi, Jeff, and hi, Eve. This has been fantastic. Jeff, I've been a fan of yours for so long, and I'm digging the Old Man series, and I've been rewatching all of your films over the past several months during the COVID lockdown, all that
Oh,
stuff.
good. Thank you.
My question is this might be a little bit too deep or too personal, but when you're going through cancer and then COVID, and you were talking about being in surrender mode, what type of stuff were you drawing on during that period? Like, what was making you hang on, and what was making you, when the doctors were saying, Jeff, you got to fight? What were you drawing on during that period?
Well, like I was saying to John, that's the doctor's name, right, Eve? John, the fellow that I was saying to John, it wasn't anything new. It was just all the old stuff that I've always drawn on all my life, but called upon to the next class. You know,
Right.
It's like if life was like a college course or whatever, a college class. You know, it's the next assignment. You know, and it would often be, gee, this is over my head, guys. But this is the class. You know, you've got you can say, you know what, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna talk to the counselor and say, can I go to the next one? Sure, you can go. Take it easy, Jeff. You know, what I drew on was the ancient shit, man. I mean, we're not the first guys who've been going through this stuff, man.
Right.
You know, I mean, come on.
Right.
And you know, I think both Bernie and wasn't Alan Watts an early guy for Bernie? Alan Watts.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I remember, you know, when I was teenager, listening to Alan Watts. I had a heavy Christian period when I was a teenager. The chaplain in boot camp turned me on. Don Harris turned me on to Kazantzakis, man. The Last Temptation of Christ. And I just sent Eve, one of his favorite books is The Saviors of God. I don't know if you know that one, but I've been into this stuff ever since I was a kid and kind of drawn to it. And so then when the mortality thing hit, I said, oh, okay, pull out all, you got any techniques, any strategies, now's the time, pull them out. And so all of that was called upon, and that was my strategy. Basically it gets down to the corny L word, love, man. That's finally what it keeps getting down to. An opportunity
Love never
to
gets
love.
old either.
Opportunity to love and get more intimacy with what love means and what that is.
Right. Thank you, Jeff, very much.
All right, man. Good hanging. Good talking. Jeff.
Okay, you stay safe and healthy. You too.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Cynthia Shinyu, you have your hand up, and if you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi,
Hi, Cynthia.
Hey,
it's great to
Cynthia.
be here.
So, Cynthia's in Mexico. Right? Are you in Mexico now?
I am. I'm in Mexico. Yes.
A friend of mine. Great to see you.
Yes. Great to see you. I took Jukai with Eve. Very special.
Uh-huh.
Very special. I'm wondering, really, both of you. I mean, this is an issue that I face in different ways about really having the energy and the interest to get to know another person more deeply. I mean, superficially, sure, you go to lunch, you do this, but to really get to know them, I mean, it takes intention, and it takes perseverance. And then do you both find you have that energy?
Well, one of the things that pops into my mind as you ask that is the preciousness of old friends.
Yeah.
Guys like Johnny, the guy who was on there, Johnny Goodwin, you've known each other since the 4th grade. You've been through so many things. You don't have to try, it's not a matter of trying. It reminds me of when my brother Bo and I, when we were in this movie, The Fabulous Baker Boys. And if it was another actor, not my real brother, I'd spend a lot of time on how can we make the illusion successful that this guy is my brother, how do we do? But Bo, he's my brother, we didn't have to spend any time on trying to create the illusion that we were brothers, I don't know how this relates. I'm trying to get back to what you say with just a new friend,
Yeah.
Here's something else that comes to mind. This is weird. But one of the great things about being an actor is you find how accessible love is. In other words, most stories are about love, right? Most movies, one way or another, either not getting enough or getting enough. And you've got a partner, another artist to work with. And it's about love. And you only have maybe 8-10 weeks to get down and do your best work. You've got to cry and laugh on cue. How do you approach this? What are the skillful means to do your job? Well, I want to open my heart and show my vulnerability and love you, basically love your partner, the person that you're creating with. And that creates a sense of relaxation and acceptance. And out of that comes the best stuff. So it's always amazed me that accessibility to love is so easy, especially when two people are up for it to pull off a movie, or in this case that you're talking about, life, and I just love how inexpensive and how present that opportunity is, not only in making movies, but just, you know, meeting that new person, you know. Another thing that comes out of acting is this idea of empowering, you know. One of a technique that, you know, I'd like to use is I will empower people to have power over me, in a sense. So I'll give the director, you know, they're very important to me, but I have to empower them to have an effect on me. So it's in allowing that to happen. I'll like, let's say I'm supposed to play being hungover, and I'm supposed to wake up, and they got the you know, a sweat, you know, flop sweat on their hair. Like this. So I will empower the Evian bottle that the guy has. I say, that is poison. And when he sprays that on you, only in a matter of seconds, you're in terrible shape. You know, I guess in what I'm saying, acting in a way is a little bit of self-hypnosis. And how can you apply that to real life? You know, again, it's that trim tab thing, you know, just that little adjustment, you know, like rather than that's being a stranger who is kind of a pain in the ass, and I don't really want to talk about all my precious stuff and all that resistance, make a little adjustment, say, oh no, this is the guy that's giving me opportunity to relax and to feel my flow. You know, it's a little adjustment, you know. I don't know. Like, I ramble on about acting there, but it's interesting how acting might apply to life at times. You know, we're all in a way actors. Oh, another thing I'm going to send you guys, I sent it to Eve, but Marlon Brando, he did a great interview with Connie Chung, and he talks about we're all actors. You know, we all. There's a German word that Hintergedanke, that little thought, you know, an ulterior motive behind, you know, what you're portraying, you're physically, how you're portraying yourself. You know, we're all actors. So I'm going to put Marlon Brando, a couple of Marlon Brando things on there that might be interesting to folks, where he talks about this.
Thank you for all
Everyone being actors.
great links you've provided.
Oh, good. Oh, I hope
I'm looking
people
forward
like.
to
Oh,
it.
yeah. I hope I'm not, you know, jumping the shark on that. Yeah, good.
Cynthia, I just want to add that as I get older, I really want to know my friends deeper and fuller. As Jeff said, it's harder for me with strangers.
Mhm.
And I have little interest in small talk. I
Yeah.
have just a lot of interest in fuller relationships. That's just what I wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I find it harder to get to that, but maybe I haven't been making the proper effort. That's something.
When was the last time that you noticed that?
Oh, I get to notice it a lot because I'm in a new country and not very, I don't speak Spanish very well. And so there's a small community here, but a lot of people come and go. And it's very challenging to figure out.
I mean, I was asking, like, what was the very last one, the time that elicited that emotion of, oh, this is a bump here. You know, when was the yesterday? What happened?
Well, I thought about a lunch invitation that has been hanging over me for a while, and I'm always finding other things to do. And I say to myself, you know what, am I not willing to put myself out to get to know these people better? Yeah.
You're just like me. Resist, resist, resist. Isn't that wild?
Oh, terrible.
Now, and then you can just do an experiment on yourself and say, I know I feel like this, but I'm going to do this and see what happens. You know, it's funny.
Yes.
Can
it's
we
so
go
fun.
on?
Yeah, sorry,
No, it's okay.
rambling.
We have people with questions, so
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's also almost an hour and a
Bye-bye.
quarter. Jeff Bridges, do you feel like hanging out a little longer? How do you feel about, because we're
Sure.
almost at the end of our allotted time. but
Yeah,
it's
no,
up to
whenever
you.
whenever everybody feels
So,
like I'm up for
Jeff
it.
O'Keefe, is that okay? I can't see
yep,
you.
I'm ready to keep us going. And
Okay, so why don't we go on just like another 10 minutes or so?
well, we've got 6 people with their hands up, so I'll go as long as you guys want to. So, and Jeff, to make it easier, I ordered pizza for everybody. I apologize. Yours has pineapple on it. I know that's a crime, but nonetheless. So,
Can you
so
believe
let's.
they're going to have that? You're going to be able to serve digital pizza pretty soon. Although somehow that'll happen.
Kim Wood, you've been patient. Thanks so much for having your hand up. Go ahead.
Hello, it is a quick one. I just really wanted to say thank you. Yeah, and just so grateful that through the screen and through Eve, I get your newsletter. Just the difference that it makes for people talking honestly about these things and how supportive it is. For instance, I can't remember what you call it now, like the waking in the morning feeling like.
Oh yeah. That morning dread. You have that sometimes.
The morning dread. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the resistance.
And what do you do about that stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think I was hoping that by this age I'd feel less anxious, but I find it's still there.
Yeah.
But like you've shared, I've got a different attitude. I'm like, okay, I'm still anxious. I'm going to try and do this anyway. And I'll try a bit. And so I wanted to say thank you. And I'm so glad that you're well. And yeah, again, Eve, I really appreciate all that you write. I get a lot from it.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. And my friend Ann Gato, you have your hand up if you want to also turn on your camera so we can see you too. And unmute, Ann.
Okay, let's see. There
you are.
Well, thank you both. This was really wonderful. I have a quick question. I'd like to know, as you've aged, how your relationship with personal curiosity has changed. Because for me, I've noticed that's the biggest change in me, and how you approach curiosity.
Yeah, I feel it's picked up kind of. The older I get, it's picked up. And it's kind of, it's interesting. It's kind of driven by, you're going to die pretty soon. What do you want to do? You better do it. Go ahead. What do you got, man? Come on, And I found, it's like, that was it a Disney or Warner Brothers cartoon where there's an angel and the devil on the guy's shoulder. And and one guy, that's the angel saying, hey man, look, your spirit is going to hit your body, your physical thing is going to go. You've got a little while to jam with this. What do you want to do? Come on. You want to do? The other guy is saying, oh God, you want to make the rest of your life this giant homework assignment? Will you please just relax? Forget this accomplish. Just relax, man.
The angel and devil kind of
but they're not really angels. They're kind of both angels in a way or something, or devils. I can't figure it out. But do you have that experience? What's your experience with curiosity?
My experience with curiosity is I've always been really curious about most things, and I think that's what fuels my Zen practice. But I used to really, dive in quickly, and now I kind of take a couple steps back. I'm not as anxious to have the right answer to the question.
Right.
And I think my curiosity has taken on a kind of a deeper glow rather than, I'm curious, I have to have the answer, and here's the solution. Change.
Yeah. I share those feelings. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, a couple of things are popping in my head about the speed or that dynamic of comfort and discomfort, and living in that in between spot. The word enough comes to mind. When is when is it enough? Is it always enough? Is the truth enough? What is, all that stuff. And just to kind of, the thing of relaxing in the way it is, it's just, I don't know, as you get older, it just, it seems, more potent, just stronger. That same thing that was, like I remember having that similar feeling when I was a kid, the similar kind of feelings, similar dreams. What I really dig is being old. The ideas keep coming, and and they say, oh, what if I do that? Oh, you could do that. Yeah, but if you do that. Oh yeah, but why not do the? All of that still goes on, and it's kind of enjoyable and exciting, especially when you apply what you. I think what I gleaned from what you were sharing is it doesn't matter that much. Just lighten up. You know what I mean? My mother is one of my favorite pieces of advice I ever got. My mother, when I would be going off to work and I'd be filled with anxiety, and she would come up and say, Jeff, come here. She said, remember, have fun and don't take it too seriously. I go, oh, wow. I forget that every time. And now my wife, Susan, will say that same thing to me, because just like when I was a kid, I'm anxious and tight, and that's so soothing. Just have fun. Oh yeah, I can enjoy whatever situation I'm in. I can enjoy dying. Fuck. I got right up to it. What a cool thing to learn. I can enjoy dying. I can enjoy,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks, Gato. Good to see
Thank you.
Mimsy, you've had your hand up for a while. If you want to unmute yourself, thanks.
Hi, folks. So nice to see you. Thank you.
Hi, Jen.
I was so interested and struck by when you were talking about being close to death and the surrendering, and then people saying, "Come on, Jeff, you got to fight," and you say, "Like, what am I supposed to fight?"
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in how that felt in your body, in your mind, and in your heart when you were at that place of, and just what you just said a couple moments ago, that like I could come up to death and really like it. So how did trying to understand the difference between that fight and pushing in life and that surrendering into death too,
And especially the doctors will always tell you to fight, or I should
Yeah.
tell you to fight.
And I recall
interesting.
this conversation I had with my dad just before he died, and he's like, they're telling me I got to do this, I got to do that. I said, it's okay, So so that's a big question for me, and your experience so close to it. I'm really interested.
And what was the question? Just give me one sentence so I
the letting go, the surrendering and the fighting, and
and I said, and I think the last person to find out, in that spot you can be digging it, you can be full of joy and excitement and love, and that wasn't something I necessarily tried to do. It's just something that occurred to me. It's like, again, I keep thinking of it as far as like classes, like you're in a class and the teacher, depends on the teacher, right? And you get a teacher who says something, you go, oh, I fucking got it. Oh, thank you. How it was delivered, and we are our own teachers in a way, and how we make these little adjustments that allow us to receive the lesson that's being there, pay attention, like in a classroom, And this idea of love is always going on. This gift is constantly coming at us. And just like our breath, we take it for granted, But this gift is coming at us. And we can think of it as a bad thing, like, oh, it's going to end, or you can just say, oh, how do you work this? Where's the instruction manual? Oh, people used to do the, life has given us these opportunities constantly, and death is a huge one. That's probably the big one. So I feel so, actually, I think as I talk about, so lucky to have gone up there and not gone over to the other side. But I was prepping myself. That seemed to be, that's the, what do they say? They're playing the cha-cha and you want to do a waltz. Well, you dance the cha-cha, man, and you do it as cool as you can, and love your partner and get off as best you can. Because that's the dance, that's the tune that's being played.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mimsy. Jeff, if you're up for it, we'll do a few more. How are you feeling?
Okay, I see my buddy there on there.
We've got Maya next in line.
Okay.
Is that all right? Maya, go ahead and unmute if you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Eve, and thank you, Jeff, and nice to meet everyone in the Sangha here. I was just jotting down little things that you were saying, Jeff, and you said like jamming with our limit, living to the edge.
Uh-huh.
And I've been trying to do that. But what happens, and it's always a reward, but like if I'm asked to tell my story or to speak or to put some kind of writing out, then I go through this terrible period afterward. There's this critical mind, like, so I'm wondering, and because you put yourself out there so much for everyone, and for example, today or tonight, are you going to now go to your next thing and wonder like, how did I do? Or are you so practiced that you can just let this stuff go?
No, I'm an anxious, guy, I do all those things, and I know what I really relate to what you're talking about.
It's horrible.
It's isn't it wild? And so stop, it's like this, like Evie says, so get up. You know what I mean? Just don't do what you're doing, do something else. Do go foundation training or do that breathing thing. Just shift it, because we're so like I was saying, we're all actors. We have these incredible imaginations, man, that can run us and hypnotize us. What's going on? Nothing's going on.
Nothing.
You're going on, and this is what's going on. Okay, you can get into it deeply. You can stop doing that. It's I don't know. I'm rambling, But I relate to what you're saying.
It's needless suffering, and yet
yeah,
I do it.
I know it. So notice that, as best you can, and then get up and do something else. Say, oh, that's, and because it's like what my mom was, remember, have fun. Is that how you want to have fun? And don't take it too seriously. Whatever you're head tripping about, it's your trip. You're tripping, man. You know that because you're talking about it. You know that. So don't take it too damn seriously and explore doing something else.
But also, Jeff, what comes to mind is what you said earlier about reaching your limit. And can
Yes,
you dance
absolutely.
when you reach the limit? So it sounds to me when you talk about all these things that are coming up for you, Maya, it's like, but that's where the practice is.
That's right. That's
your
it. That's the
approach to
shit. That's
something.
the you
And,
make that little
and this is the dance. So you're dancing with your limits, and you know,
yeah.
just like,
That's the cool stuff, man.
yeah.
I wrote
Yeah.
it down. The obstacle is the way. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Check that out.
thank you guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Maya.
you.
Jeff, could we, both Jeffs, I see, can we like have, I know that up through Cameron, they were waiting quite a while. Well, can we call it an end at that point? Because otherwise more people raise their hands and it's, is that
You mean
okay?
you mean end with Bonnie?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Let's just do
And
it. Let's just do it.
kind of,
Yeah, let's do it.
okay,
Man.
let's end
What's
it
up
with
here?
Bonnie,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, Bonnie, go ahead and.
No,
go
it's
ahead.
not Bonnie, it's Anne, I think is next, right?
Oh, Anne is next, yes. I didn't know if you want to jump. Hi, Anne.
Good to see you. And thanks, this has been so uplifting. And, but I guess I'm ever the contrarian. So, what, there's this other aspect to aging that I'm certainly feeling. It's this bittersweet quality that, time is short. Time is getting shorter.
Yeah.
There's this little ache, like I was outside, looking at the Milky Way the other night. It was a low moon. And even in these incredibly awe-inspiring moments, I feel a little ache knowing that time is drawing closer, right? And so I have this T-shirt, and the T-shirt, I've had it for decades, and it's the Chinese character for contentment. And it says, contentment is holding on to and letting go of at the same time. So I guess I'm just curious about this letting go side of aging, the bittersweet side, the ache part. And what's hardest for you both, Eve and Jeff, it's just something that's present for me as I am more aware that time is shorter.
Yeah.
So that's my question.
What comes to mind is what do we call it? Old adolescence. When you're when you're what, 13 or something, you're going through all those sexual things, and you're figuring out who am I with the, and I relate to what you're talking about, because I think those thoughts as well, as that this is like, as an old person, we're experiencing a type of adolescence going into the next thing. And just like when you were a kid, you don't know what that next thing is. And death, we only got a little time, oh, that summer vacation was so great, and now I've got school, and what's going to happen. It's that weird uncomfortability that life presents all the time, kind of, isn't it? Like, I'm not quite in the right place. I'm not enjoying where I am quite enough because of this. That seems to be a constant to me. And again, like other things we've been talking about, it hasn't been new stuff. It's like that same thing that is just emphasized as I get older. And I don't know. That's, as you were talking about it, this holding on to the preciousness of it. How to, like you were saying, how to hold on and let go all at the same time. What was the quote that you said again? To what?
It's this T-shirt, and
yeah,
the
what
T-shirt
was it?
says,
Yeah.
Contentment is holding on to and letting go of.
Yeah, holding holding on to letting go of holding on, all those things, those things. That's like, you're not a kid anymore. Now you're this person. It's that same kind of thing that's always been going on to me. I sense it, and it's always felt. That's like that resistance feeling that I talked about. That holding on of that resistance to it. And that's just part of the gig, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I do it too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, what Jeff, not Jeff, okay. Didn't you place a quote by the Dalai Lama? Your life depends on how well you love and how well you lived and how well you let go. And that last one is really something. And we practiced years to be able to let go well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to dig what you have to let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not? Love that. Love it.
Absolutely. Right. Love it totally and totally let go. And that is, do it. But that ain't easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the only game in town.
That's it.
Well, Jeff and Eve, should we call it a day?
No, I got my buddy Tom Bedell up there, man.
Hey.
And these other fella in the cap.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Tom.
It's so great to see you.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming aboard.
So the conversation has been a lot about how we address feelings, experiences, life's interactions within ourselves and with each other. But a lot of your legacy is how you interface with our planet and our Mother Earth and the home that we live in. Could you share some thoughts about that?
Well, immediately think of what we're up to together. Tom makes this beautiful guitar, Breed Love, and I was invited to make a signature model, and it could be, however we wanted to design it. But the most important thing is that it would be made with sustainable wood. This is Tom's idea. To teach people when they go out to buy a guitar or an instrument, where does that wood come from? Is that like some, precious wood that, we're going to be extinct, or what's going on? So my guitar is made out of myrtle wood, which is sustainable, and it's beautiful. And what Tom was into, not only for instruments, but to have it go for flooring and furniture, and have people asking that question, and slowly bring other instrument, because Tom isn't figuring I've got to do it for Breed Love. He wants to spread this message into flooring companies and so forth. Anyway, so that's that's a little trim tab for me. That's like my little trim tab. I'll hook up with this guy who's connected this way, and we're going to send the proceeds to another friend who might be on, Mark Plotkin, who is the head of an organization called the Amazon Conservation Team, who's all about saving the Amazon rainforest. And that's where I want us to go, so you kind of link up with those things. And Tom is, a big runner that I've hooked up with, so I love that.
It's good to see you, Jeff.
Good seeing you, man.
You take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
And for everybody who's still here, my partner Jim has been posting links in the chat, both for Breed Love guitars, which I love, and for the Amazon team. So you can find those links there too. So Eve and Jeff, how are we doing?
No,
well, there's one fellow there in the baseball cap, and then Bonnie Cowley.
Okay, well, if you've got time.
Who's the guy with the baseball?
Cameron?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Hey, man.
Cameron Ongil.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for being here. I'll just make my question quick. My question is, what do you feel like you learned from your father about growing old gracefully, and also growing old within the industry, because your dad was in the industry for quite a number of years, all the way from when he was young until he was older. And it tends to be an industry that likes the younger. So for you personally, how's that navigating that been for you?
Yeah, that part has not been any problem, because there's some, I take parts like the old man, I qualify. That's, typecasting, so I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I'm glad they're there so I can participate still. But my dad, I'd say a couple of things as you were mentioning him came to mind. The main thing I learned, he taught me all about acting. He'd set me, he had this TV show, Sea Hunt, and he really wanted all his kids to go into showbiz. He loved it so much. And he would sit and, teach us the basics of acting. But the main thing I learned from him was the joy in which he approached his work. And it was wild, and it was contagious. Whenever, I got to work with him as an adult a couple of times. And I even noticed when I was a kid, but I didn't realize I noticed it kind of. But as an adult, he come into the room, he was so much in the state of joy with what we have to do together. We're all going to jam. We're going to do something beautiful. This is cool. And that was kind of contagious. And everybody would relax. It's a crazy thing. So that's kind of like the main lesson that I learned from his approach when he came into a room or anywhere was kind of like that. And then as far as old age, I learned I didn't want to do it the way he did it. He was, he resisted, he was like, there must be tons of favorite songs about, resisting, He did not like to get old, man. I mean, he was a physical cat, he would swim, miles every day, down at the beach. Great physical shape, great tennis player.
Didn't you tell me at what age did he swing with a chandelier? You told me that?
Oh yeah, 90 years old. He was doing the thing. Oh, I just thought of a story about my dad. Kind of tell it. It makes me smile when I think about it. This is the Bridges Tennis Classic in Hawaii. And my father was a great pro-am tennis player in the circuits. And we're all down there. And my brother, my sister, my mom, and it's the first time the Bridges are going to do a big tennis tournament. And my dad is serving the first ball in. So we're all sitting in the bench, and my dad throws up the ball into the net, And the announcer, because it's a pro-am thing, and there's some comedies, and come on, Lloyd, you can do better than that. Knowing my dad is like a champion tennis player, throws the ball up into the net. Oh. The guy makes some other joke, blah, blah, blah. Again, into the net. The guy does say, "So I make a joke? Oh, by now I'll make a joke." He's going to get it this time. Net. And it goes on like that for about a dozen shots, man. And there's no joke, more joking, Now it's getting weird. And my mom leans over to me and says, "Jeff, stop him. He's going to have a heart attack. You got to go up there and stop him." And I lean over to Bo and say, "Bo, are we going to go off and cut this guy's balls off in front of all these people right now? Take him up there. Come on, what are we going to do?" And I say, "Okay, here we go." And boom, and he knocks it over in the net, and the place goes, wow, it just goes crazy with the tension that was built up. Oh my God. But my dad did not like getting old, man. It pissed him off. And I think it caused him a lot of suffering. And that's what I learned from him on that approach. But he had, he was a very joyful, cool cat, man.
Thanks,
I hope
Cameron,
that answered.
and
Wait, did
if
that
we-
answer your question? Yeah, did that answer your question? I think it did. The fellow with the cap, I think.
Yeah, that's Cameron. Thanks, Jeff.
Cameron, yeah, okay.
Bonnie, let's take Bonnie, and then we can.
Yeah.
Then we.
Okay,
Bonnie, go ahead and turn
I'm
your
in
camera on.
Amarillo, Texas, and I joined a little bit late because I'm a real estate agent. And I don't want to end on a sad note, but I watched your commercial and I've watched all your movies and everything. And I've watched your commercial lately. And my husband, we were dealing with something similar. He had throat cancer. He had a lump in his neck, and we thought it might have been lymphoma or something like that. And it turned out to be throat cancer. And he went through radiation and chemo and COVID twice. He wasn't, fortunately, he didn't have to go into the hospital as you did. And I'm sorry for that, because I know that's very scary. I don't know how your wife, it affects the whole family.
Oh,
And
definitely.
and I don't want to end on a sad note because listening about your dad and following him through his career, that was amazing stories. I just, it's just, how do you get out of this slump of cancer and COVID? And, and I pray and I meditate and I do all the stuff, but the fear, I think, is, and I've listened to what I could, coming in a little bit later, but and it is a letting go. And my dad was actually a Baptist minister. So I kind of grew up in that faith, and I've had to find my own, avenue and all of that. It's a family deal, and it affects everybody. And I just want to hear kind of your experience, and how does the family deal with that? And
I know what you're saying, and my experience with my family, and we're still going through it. And this happened a while ago, but everybody in the family processes it completely differently, completely in a unique way.
Yes.
And like, not only, we can always give ourselves shit for not doing it the way we want it to be, or so we can always, give ourselves shit about not letting go enough, we all have our style, one of us, one of my family would kind of turn it off if somebody was observing. If one of her family members was observing her, she's kind of shut her feelings down. Isn't that another person would be, very emotional and just crying all the time and just getting into it. You're very dramatic. And the person from the outside would say, oh, what a drama queen,
Right.
All these different ways of processing this thing. And your way is your way. It's get intimate with it, ask questions about it. One of the things I wanted to put on there and is I don't know if you're into Byron Katie at all.
Yes.
Yeah, God, I've been kind of steeping in her recently, and the work and this inquiry about our feelings and our notions about ourselves, and how are they real? What's going on here,
Well, I appreciate that, because that's very interesting. I know that, it never, once you experience that, it's always there, kind of. And I'm so glad that you're healthy, and you've been an inspiration to all of us. And I'm so glad that I was able to speak to you and appreciate you in every way.
Oh, Greg, thanks so much for sharing, Bonnie. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Jeff. And Eve,
thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, thank you to both Jeffs. And thank
Great
you to
hanging.
everyone who came today.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful hanging with everybody.
So appreciate everybody. Eve and Jeff, wonderful, wonderful. And share with your friends. We do have, this is recorded, so we'll be able to see this later on. Anybody who's not subscribed to our newsletter at Zen Peacemakers, if I could plug, please do so. That's where you learn about the events that we're doing like this. So go to the website, and it's free, and we won't spam you, we promise. So
and Jeff, I think that Bridges, isn't it official that you're filming another season of The Old Man?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of up in the air for me. I mean, they haven't talked to me. I hear tell we are anyway.
Good.
So. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. A number of people asked about that, so
good.
We'll keep our ears to the ground about that.
Good deal.
And Jeff, you did not mention the nonprofit feeding the children.
Oh, no kid hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, and that URL is what's that address for the website? Can you share that?
With the address for what website?
For No Kid Hungry? Is it
nokidhungry.org? Yeah.
Good. Let's make sure everybody's aware of that, and maybe we can help a little bit there too. So, love to everybody. Thank you so much. This went longer than we planned, which is great. It's perfect.
Good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the hang.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with it, Jeff and Eve, much. Okay.
See you later, Eve.
Okay, we'll talk.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.